And disrespect my father. He wasn't around.
Okay, so that's the thing. So stop it there, right?
Right. That's
so
exactly the source.
You didn't even have the prime example of what you needed to carry your love for men, you know, and your, later ages. So
let's
you didn't
go
have
back to God.
But let me make it concise for you. You was raised without a father. You had a father, but he didn't raise you. So your father wasn't there to instill certain traits in you, so you will accept a man's love. That's what I'm saying. So that's why you're saying that you don't know how to. That's why you just said that. Oh well, what did you said? You hate men?
I'm not that too.
She said she doesn't respect men.
That's not what I said. But yes,
so,
I hate them
So
too.
this is what I'm saying. You just said that you don't. That's the reason why you said that you don't respect men is because you was raised without a father. So now you're going through life and you don't know how to experience
a lot of women,
other men's love.
That's a lot of women, though, to be honest.
I want to go back to what you were saying about God. My spirit, right? Because I do love God and I do respect God because I feel like God is in me, right? So when I feel like something ain't right, that's all mad spiritual. Sorry, don't look at me like that. Like I meant it like in a sense of like
you're like God's in me.
You know what I mean? Like what he said about God, right? Yeah. So I feel like God gives us like the spirit, right? So we know when something is right and when something is wrong.
But all women have that, though, to be honest.
It's intuition. Yeah, it's intuition.
Yeah. So with or without a father, I know when something was wrong and when something was right. So I didn't need a father to tell me wrong from right. I knew what was up.
No.
Okay, so is the lack of a father in a young lady's life, is that going to cause them problems? When they get older, knowing, I guess the point he was making was because you didn't have your father in your life, you're accepting false versions of love from men because no one taught you what it should look like. Does that make sense to you?
That could be a thing. That could be true. I mean, that's so false love or false love from a man, because a mother can love you.
No, from a man.
From a man. Without the right example, I mean, we've had people on our show tell us, that they grew up in a household where it was all women, and so they were kind of always hearing bad things about men that made them feel like, oh, well, that's what it's going to be like for me, you know. So, but there was so much talking going on. It was hard for me to follow until she kind of explained it. So was she saying that she hates all men or she doesn't trust men?
Apparently earlier in the conversation she said that. So he was trying to give a reason for why you feel that way. It's because you didn't have a father. So I don't know.
I mean, you don't necessarily have to have a father to draw that, to not have a father to draw that conclusion. Social media, television, movies can make you draw that conclusion too, that men are untrustworthy.
But if you had a good father at home, like a father that loved you and loved your mom the right way, would you have that feeling no matter what happened on social media? You have an example of a good father.
Yeah. I hope my girls say that about me.
That's where I was leading to. We both have girls. Mm-hmm. What do you want them to know about men from you?
The example that I set. I mean, I want them to know that, men are loving and men are generous and they're kind and they, I want them to know. It's hard to say that because, the things that I want them to know about me are not so much about, it's hard to say what I want them to find in a man versus what I want them to know about a man.
What do you want them to find in a man?
I want them to find a godly man. I want them to find a man that...
How will they know he's godly?
Seeing some of the same traits that they see in them, that they've picked up from me. Reading my Bible, praying, talking about the Lord, sitting down, having conversations, telling them how good God is and telling them what kind of God we serve. Like my kids ask so many questions about God. Mm-hmm. It's overwhelming from time to time. We'll be in the car and I look at my wife and I say, can you please handle that one? I don't know how to respond to that, So, my father passed away 30 days before my first child was born. So all they know when they hear about my father is Grandpa James is in heaven. Mm-hmm. And they ask so many questions about Grandpa James in heaven. And I'm like, It's hard for them to get until they grow older. So now I just got to answer the questions with the most, with the best that I can. And it's really hard. A lot of questions they ask me are really hard. Where does he live in heaven? What is he doing right now?
It's stuff that you haven't even thought through.
Is he looking at us right now? Like one of my kids was just crying one day, and I'm like, why are you crying? I want to go to heaven and meet Grandpa James. I just want to give him a hug. And at that moment, I'm struck by that. It's a trigger for me, because then I'm like, I need to process how I feel before I give you the answer as to why you can't hug your grandfather.
So I've honestly not thought about this yet with Noah, my daughter Noah. And I guess what I would say is, what I want her to see from me is how I treat Alfie when we're by ourselves.
Yeah.
Matters. Not just what I say on the show, what I do at church, when I'm teaching her classmates, because we teach her class at church.
Okay.
It's not just what you do in those public settings, it's what she sees that I do when we're by ourselves.
Yeah. Or
what she can overhear when she's in her room.
Yeah.
Those are the things that matters, because that's what she's gonna take home, put in her heart when she looks for a man. Is if my dad is constantly fussing at my mom,
right,
or treats my mom badly, or makes my mom cry, or that's what she's gonna expect to have to deal with too. So we have a huge responsibility with our daughters on how we treat them, but also how we treat our wives, because that's whatever you show her.
Yeah.
Is what she's going to think is going to happen to her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But then I think also kids see things differently too. Like me and my wife would be joking about something, and my kids would be like, don't do that. Don't say that about mommy. And we'd be like, we're just joking. We're just joking. No,
that's true.
And then it becomes a trigger for them to, ask more questions.
Yeah.
We do this thing. Then my kids are always like, I got your back, mommy. I got your back, daddy.
Yeah.
Me and mommy are not actually taking sides, right? But you just think that we are because we're making a silly bet. You know what I mean?
That is a good point. There are things that can be, even if you do an amazing job as a father, there's still going to be things that leave wounds on your children, right?
Yeah.
So like even with us, like me and my wife are very competitive, like especially when it comes to sports. So we have like this little, you've seen it, a little indoor basketball court thing, right? Yeah. So sometimes we'll get out there and we'll shoot on the little, it's like a little toy basketball hoop, right? And my wife is super competitive, so I'll be trying to block her, and she's like fighting through me and all this kind of stuff. So my daughter one day, she was like, stop, because she thought we were fighting. It's like, baby, no, we're not fighting. I just can't let that crap in the lane. Like I just can't do. I can't let her score. Like I just can't. So there can be some things that they misinterpret, but overall, you have to consider, like, this is not. Your children are soaking up every single thing you do.
They are.
Like, there's things that my daughter picks up on, and I'm like, how did you know that? It's like, you said such and such last week, or I heard you on the phone with so-and-so.
Oh, man.
It's like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah,
like, you are literally a living witness to what they're going to believe about God and what they're going to believe about their husband every single day in your house.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it also changes as they get older, too. As they get older, they start to realize, like, the questions they ask about heaven, they'll understand a whole lot better, right? So, they ask questions like, how old will I be when I get to heaven? Am I going to be a kid still, or am I going to be an adult? And I'm like, I don't have to answer that question, because you'll understand that as you get older and you start processing what heaven is. You'll understand your own answer. You'll have your own answer to that, right? Because when I say there will be spirits, they're like, well, what does that mean? And I'm saying, well, and then they ask, is God a spirit? Is God a man? And I'm like, okay, here we go. So I started explaining that to them, and then they asked more questions about that, right? So recently we lost our pet, right? And so we told they asked the question, is our pet in heaven? I was like, yeah, okay. And then they were like, the first thing they want, I said, well, what do you want, to remember about her? Well, I want her to go meet Grandpa James. I want the dog to go meet Grandpa James. Okay, cool. So then they asked me, when she was sick, she wasn't able to walk anymore. Is she walking in heaven? Is she running? Is she able to run again? Because I kept saying she's in no more pain. And they were like, oh, is she running in heaven now? And I'm like, oh, okay. Okay. Like I have a hard time answering these questions because I don't want them to be like confused by my answers.
So I guess the real question is, what do you think your daughters would be missing if you weren't there?
Oh man.
What would they not get if you weren't in their life?
I think that there would be, they call me Hero Daddy. So I think that they will be missing a lot of that, talking about what they see on television. Like my daughters always walk up to me and they're like, "Let me see your muscle." I'm like, okay, whatever. And then I do like that, and they're like, "Oh, Daddy, wow!" Ooh. And they start telling each other like, "Yeah, superhero." So I think that they would be missing the superhero that they kind of made me out to be, and I think they see that on television. A lot of the superhero characteristics that they ascribe to me is, Daddy killed a bug. He killed a bug.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not really a big deal
To them, it's
but it's a huge deal to them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I I don't think my daughter is 5 now, and I guess I don't really think about what I mean to her. I know when I get home from work and she's there, she'll stand by the door and be like, "Daddy!" And she'll give me a hug, and I'm like, wow, who am I to her? Like, like, what did I do to deserve that? Like, I didn't do anything. But she sees me as, like you said, like this hero in her life, and she asked me a bunch of questions, and she asked me to teach her things, and it's like, man, what would it be like if I wasn't there? Am I taking it serious, the responsibility I have to be that example for her at this age? Or am I busy doing stuff? Or am I busy trying to work or do track stars or whatever? Like, am I missing opportunities to instill in her that, my wife is the most important thing to me. She's the most important thing to me. God's the most important thing to me, not the stuff. Yeah. Because I don't want her to get into a marriage where her husband is not sensitive, not caring, doesn't listen, doesn't adjust when he gets feedback. I want to make sure, I need to start thinking about that now. Am I living up to what I want her husband to be? Because if I'm doing something, if I catch myself and I'm like, if her husband did that, would I be mad? Yeah. Would I be mad? Very true. And I don't know. I don't know if I always pass that.
But no, absolutely not, because we're all imperfect people and we're human, and so we'll make those mistakes. I've had those situations where I've had to sit them down and be like, listen, Daddy has been frustrated and angry and concerned and confused about a lot of different things, so when things don't go my way, I will probably take it out on you. I mean, no, I'm not saying that I'm doing that. I'm saying that that's what the conversation was. Like, I'm
sorry for having taken this out on you.
Okay, so
not that I'm going to.
All right, so exactly, that's exactly what it was. So my daughter dropped her instrument, right? Right. And we just got angry, right? Yeah. And we didn't get angry because she dropped it. It was careless, whatever. Hard, We got angry because we were like, we got to pay for an instrument now? On top of everything else. So luckily it was fixed. I was able to fix it. But we had to explain to her why we were like, okay, why we were so upset.
But I guess what I'm saying is, even that, I think the responsibility is on us to be better than that. Like, if I fuss at my daughter, I could tell her, I fuss at you because you're a bad kid, or I fuss at you because my life is hard, or I fuss at you because we don't have enough money. But the truth is, I shouldn't fuss at you. It's not your fault. And if I do that, I'm going to apologize.
Of course. Right? And that's exactly what I did, because I was so upset that my wife was like, all the girls are crying. I'm like, I was like, okay, so we gotta have a family meeting and sit down and talk about it. Yeah. And it was easy. It was easy. It was easy for them to understand it, But it was like, it was a stressful.
I'm being forced to learn a lot more about leadership right now. You know why? But I had to study leadership and how to manage people more now. And one thing that really struck me was, leadership is not pretending like you have it all together. It's being vulnerable and being open with the people you lead that you don't have it together, right? Sure. So being able to say, I did not do a good job, I'm sorry, or this is my issue, and if you see this, let me know, because I don't mean to do this. This is just an issue that I have.
Yeah.
It does more than trying to pretend like you don't.
Yeah, I remember one situation where I got so upset, and we were almost late for school, and then when the Holy Spirit was like, "You cannot let her get out the car feeling like she was the reason y'all were almost late, or y'all were late."
Yeah.
So I remember saying like, "Hey, get back in the car." And I took my daughter to McDonald's. We were super late then, but I took her to McDonald's, and I got her some ice cream, and I just let her sit in the car, and I just talked to her, and I was like, "Hey, that wasn't fair for me to accuse you of making us late, or the reason why." And so we just got to move faster in the morning. I was like, "But I'm giving you this treat because I want you to know that I'm apologizing, and I hope you forgive me." "I forgive you, Daddy." "Okay, cool."
Yeah.
But I knew that was going to scar her.
But it's also a reminder that the things that we feel like we're late for, or we got to hurry up and do, at the end of the day, they're not really that serious. And we need to remind ourselves sometimes that it's not that serious. And when I find myself getting frustrated with her, or frustrated with my wife about something, and you got to stop and think, why? Is what I'm frustrated about that important? Sure. If I tell them to wait, or if I'm late, or I miss something, is it really gonna be worse than fussing at my daughter? You know what I mean? Like,
no,
maybe we need to think.
It's never that serious. It's never that serious.
That's good, man. Yeah. All right, well, we didn't mean to be so sentimental today, but we'll talk about your favorite celebrities next week. Love you guys. Thank you guys. It's a skeleton crew today, but we had fun reading your comments. It gave us more time to read your comments, honestly, because we weren't distracted with the people in the room. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Make sure you join us live whenever you can. Make sure you go to patreon.com/Trackstar Universe. Thank you for all the new members. We have a lot of stuff planned for you guys. So go there, sign up. You get a free t-shirt. You could do it for 7 days. You get to keep the t-shirt. Even if you leave us, it's fine. And the cool thing is now we have free members. So if let's say you can't afford it 1 month, or you can't afford it for a while, you could just convert to a free member and then come back if you want to. It's literally just you guys are supporting us. It really helps us with, me and Jerry were just talking before the show. Okay, there's a couple things we have to fix in the studio. There's a couple things we have a really cool series that we're planning for the next year that we may need lights for, and switchers and things like that for. So you guys supporting us on Patreon really helps us. You guys watching our videos, subscribing, liking, all that stuff. This year has been incredible. Jerry, show this thing back here. That thing keeps going up and up and up. Last week was at 91, 71.
71.
Like it's going up like crazy, and you guys have really shown out this year. So we appreciate you. All the new live listeners, I've been seeing new names in the chat every week. We really appreciate you. Go back, get caught up on all this 18 years of stuff up. So go back, get caught up on all of what got us here. We haven't always been as mature as we are now. Not saying that we are. We still have a long way to go, but we were worse before. So you can go back and see the journey of...
we're like T.I. and Boosie. Children mature you.
Yeah, but I mean, go back to our early days before we were married, complaining about women. You can see us say crazy stuff on this show. Like, we've grown up doing this show. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff to catch up on. Thank you to all the members that's on Trackstars, the actual Trackstars YouTube page. They're members. We appreciate you guys too. We have some plans for Line for Line. If you love Line for Line, make sure you subscribe to trackstars.com/Line for Line. Go find the Line for Line YouTube channel. Subscribe there, because we're going to be doing Line for Lines on the YouTube channel. If you're a member of the Trackstars page, you can still vote and get your vote counted by getting on the Patreon feed. Because we're going to close this feed around this time. We're going to move over to the Line for Line channel, but the Patreon and Line for Line channels are still going to be live. So go support us. And if by any chance you have not subscribed to us yet, you got to do that right now. Subscribe right this second. It helps us so much. Our goal is to get to 100,000 before the end of the year. It's going to take a miracle because we're not super close to 100,000, but we believe that we can get there. So you can help us.
Yeah, and I'll say this too, just real quick before we sign off. Shout out to Damo. Yeah. He is a married man. Yeah, shout out to our team member Damo. He's a married man. It's funny, we had so many jokes about him earlier this week. I have to just clue you in on those later, but there's just funny jokes. But he's a married man now, and we're excited for him. So
welcome to the family, Linnell.
Yeah, him and the missus. Go enjoy honeymoon time.
That's awesome, man. We had some birthdays. So we had Mike Sarge had a birthday this past week, so shout out to him. Yeah, and we got a lot of birthdays coming up. Our boy's birthday is coming up.
Yeah.
Jeremiah. So go wish him a happy birthday this upcoming week. We love you guys. Thank you. We'll see you next week. You're in the field with the track stars. Ryan Righteous, Sean Tanner, DJ Jeremiah. Let's go.